Fireside Tales. Hello, I'm Merlin, Mililli. Welcome to season 2 of Fireside Tales. Welcome back to my fireside, where we tell tales, weird tales within tales. And we drink coffee. I drink coffee out of my skull mug because I'm a deadhead. It comes into play here at Fireside Tales. Every week I've been telling the story of the Grateful Dead. From the Tibetan Book of the Dead. But it's where the band, the Grateful Dead, got their name from the story. And the story is about reincarnation. And here at Fireside Tales, every week, we've been discussing reincarnation. That's the one way in which we get weird. And discussing the story of the Grateful Dead and reincarnation are two of the ways we get weird here with our stories within stories or tales within tales by the fireside. I would like to discuss a little bit about fire safety. I live in California. Fireside Tales is filmed here in California in Mount Shasta. And we're on the mountains, so it's cool up here, but we still have fires, and we like to be safe. So fire safety is of the utmost importance. So I always have water in my kettle on the fire. Maybe we'll do an episode about fixing your cast iron. It's a beautiful cast iron kettle, and I should really just get at it with steel wool and help it be new again. But I let it boil over on the stove so that it gives a little humidity in the room, but also for fire safety, we like to keep the water there. And my kitchen sprayer can reach my fireplace, but I like to smudge. So I'd like to discuss smudging and fire safety kind of in the same conversation. Some people recommend that you use wooden matches when you are smudging because it's a spiritual thing, and I was on the road for a really long time, and matches get wet. Lighters can get wet, but they can dry out and still light again. And I'm originally from Shelton, Connecticut, where they make Bic lighters, so I'm partial to Bics, and I get to look at Shelton, which is on the Bic, every time I light my Bic. So I like a big lighter, but you use what you want to light your fire, but be safe about it. If it's an outside fire, I like to have a bucket of water, but also a hose if it's available. Right now I have a cauldron of water here just for my smudge stick. This is a smudge stick. It's sage. It purifies and cleanses the air. When you're doing things that are a little more spiritual, I like to smudge before readings. I read tarot and runes. And I like to smudge my house kind of regularly. I like to smudge before making any recordings. It clears me out. It makes me cleansed, my spirit, my soul. We get very spiritual here at Fireside Tales, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and put my smudge stick out. One does smudge one, like so. You want to get it kind of around you, but see how you have to be careful. You can't catch your house on fire just because you want to smudge yourself. So we keep a cauldron of water. Oftentimes I just use a goblet. When I smudge for a ritual where I call up all four directions and all four elements and do an intentional ritual, I smudge for those as well. But then I have a goblet full of water that's representing water. Oftentimes, I do my rituals in the tub as well, so there's a whole big vat of water. So I try to keep water around, but not just water. If you have an outdoor fire, you'll want to have a shovel and some dirt. A bucket of dirt can do you real well to put out a fire. And so you don't just need water to put out a fire. You can put out a fire with dirt. Just things to know. Let's be safe in our smudging and our fireside tales. Just want to cover that so that everybody knows that you really have to be very careful. I've been lighting fires, cooking over fires, using fire for decades, 30-ish years. So I have a lot of experience, and sometimes I forget that other people don't. So I just want you to know that you really have to be super careful, especially when you're in the forest or in the woods. If you're in the forest and in the woods, I notice a lot of people don't look up. I don't know why, but pay attention to what's above where your fire is going to be. You don't want anything above where your fire is going to be. You don't want branches. You don't want a tree. You don't want any trees. It should be open to the sky. There should be no trees hanging into your fire area. If you build a fire, you should put stones around it. You should make sure it's got a good thick layer of dirt with no grass. Throw some stones on that if you have to. Stones around it, big stones. And then make sure that that is, clear of any branches. Or even any branches to grow into that area. Because if you're making a fire pit for your yard where you're going to be for a while, consider branches are going to grow before putting your fire pit. Okay, that's enough of my Smokey the Bear speech. Let's do be careful. The earth. She's hot. So another thing I've been doing, sometimes by the fireside for over 30 years, is meditating. And in my meditations, I have discovered that I have a key, a meditative key to a meditative place called the Akasha, or the Akashic Records. And in the Akashic Records, every soul has a book. And your book tells the story of your soul and where and when it's been. It's a meditative library, so it doesn't work quite like a regular library. You don't need a card, you need a key. And you don't read the books as much as you sort of absorb them. At least that's how I do it. I go with my spirit guides, and they take me to my book, and then I just open to a certain section and just touch it. And then I get like a memory of when I was past me. Now, my book is big and dusty and old. I not only have a key to the Akashic Records, but I also have some other little talents that seem to help me along my way in developing these weird tales, if nothing else. But I'm also a medium and a psychic. So thus I read tarot and runes. But as I've been communicating with the spirit realm throughout my life and throughout lifetimes, I think my mediumistic qualities have carried over from lifetimes. And the spirits have a theory that the people that are reincarnated are people who've been murdered. Now, with all this research and all this work I've done in a full season of Fireside Tales, I have not been able to disprove this theory. So, you can take that with however many grains of salt you wish, but if that's true, I've been murdered a lot. So, I discussed last season each one of my lives in really small detail. So this season, I thought we'd go back to the very beginning. I was going to work backwards from this life to my last life, and that was too hard for me. It was too confusing. I couldn't go backwards. It just wasn't working for me. So I've decided that now we're going to start with my very first life in my book in the Akashic Records, and we're going to move forward. And I'm just going to talk every week a little bit more about Little Flower. This season, we're going to just talk about Little Flower. So that is who I was, according to my book, first. I was a Peruvian around 8,000 BC, a Mayan in ancient Peru, and that is what we're going to discuss today. So, but first, I am going to tell the story of the Grateful Dead. So, let's get to that. Once, a long, long time ago, there was a traveler. She traveled far and wide, and then one day she came to a little village. She noticed squabbling. Group of people standing around squabbling with one another. And then as she got closer, she noticed that they were standing around a dead body and squabbling over it. Arguing over who was going to pay the dead man's debts, who was going to bury him, who was going to pay for that. And the traveler was just disgusted. So she walks up to this scene and stops these people from squabbling disrespectfully over this poor dead man. She pays his debts. And she pays for a proper burial. And she prays over his body. And she travels on. And then one day, many years later, decades later, the traveler happens upon a life or death situation. And this person just swoops out of nowhere and saves her life. The traveler is astonished. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why did you save my life? Thank you for saving my life. But really, who are you? And the person just simply said, I am the Grateful Dead. And that is the story of the Grateful Dead. And it is a story about reincarnation. The person at the end can't possibly be a corpse. Some people say that. But corpses don't save lives. It's a reincarnated person. It's that dead man who's grateful for the traveler having paid his debts and paid for a proper burial and prayed over his grave. And now he's reincarnated and he's a person again, and he's there just to save the traveler's life, it seems. Because he is grateful. He is the Grateful Dead. But yet, he's living. Death, I don't know, for me, because my book is so large and I've been reincarnated so many times, it seems to me that it's really not as final as everyone says it is. But when I finally go and I can go to heaven, I'll be happy. I think I might end up a spirit guide, though. I might get bored with heaven real quickly, just because I like doing things. So I might be like an angel or a spirit guide or something, because it's less boring than just sitting there thinking about yourself. It's not really my gig. So, you wouldn't really know it from this show, but, I've spent my life giving to others, raising my children, feeding millions of people for free over a fire in the middle of the woods with almost nothing. I've done my fair share of thinking of others. And when I make this show, I am thinking of others, because I really don't feel like we understand reincarnation or meditation or fire safety or smudging or any of that, really, or the Grateful Dead or the story of the Grateful Dead. We don't understand any of this stuff enough. So I thought I'd make a show that covered these things and made reincarnation, at least, a little more clear to some people, because people really don't seem to understand. Like, they think it's a zombie. No, reincarnated people are not zombies. They're not. You die, and then you're reborn in a new little baby body. And then that body grows into a person, and then it dies, and then, it might get reincarnated again. I'm really not sure about all that. But nonetheless, we've talked about meditation, we've talked about interdimensional travel, we've talked about angels, we've talked about astral projection, we've talked about light, and we've talked about all these things coming together and being common threads throughout each of my lives. The mediumistic qualities, it all ties together. And when I dated things out, I found that my lives make like a puzzle. And it's kind of interesting, because it's come up before, and now I'm bringing it up because of the decision of the Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade. The pro-lifers are trying to say that life begins at conception now. And it doesn't, okay? My last life, right before this one, I died the day I was born. Can you wrap your head around that? There was life in my baby body, according to my spirit, according to my book, the day I was born. Not before that. The day I was born. Not the day I was conceived, not some day in my gestation. No, the day I was born. So I just want to cover that, just because people have asked me what my opinion is, and it's not even my opinion. It's according to my book, and I've matched up other dates as well. As you saw, if you watched our first season, I believe I was Newton and Galileo, both of them, and had there been a baby gestational thing for spirits, that wouldn't have worked out. But it's as if Newton just picked up where Galileo left off, and other scientists have said it, and it makes total sense, and it is exactly what happened. Newton just picked up exactly where Galileo left off, because they were both me. I know it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and it's totally crazy, but that's where the weird tales come in here at Fireside Tales. We get weird, and life is weird. It really is. And I feel like this is my truth. This is what I know in my soul to be true. And I thought if it could help people to understand reincarnation, to understand spirituality, to understand meditation, to understand smudging, or even fire safety better, then I've done my job. So, today, like I said, we are discussing Little Flower. Now, Little Flower was an ancient Mayan who lived in ancient Peru around 8000 BC. And I was born to a man named Eagle the Lucky. He was the chief of our tribe. My mother was, I guess it would be like a shaman, but she was more than that. We'll get into that later. And we spoke a different language, but my father in his language, but in English, he was called Eagle the Lucky, but not in English, in his language. And that was because he found a turquoise mine and mined some of the first turquoise. This was 10,000 years ago. So some of the first turquoise, and that is what they made the Mayan calendars out of. And both Eagle the Lucky and my mother, who I believe had a flower name. I should look into that a little bit more. I don't know if I've ever known her name in this life, not in English. I could do a meditation and come up with that before we clear up this season. So I'll do that. But both my parents in this life, my first life, were healers of the tribe. And like I said, my father was the chief, I guess, probably before there were chiefs, really. He was just, a dad, and then he became dad to everyone. But he was my dad. And I remember loving him very much. And I remember this life being like my most pleasant life still yet even. And I lived a long time, and it was pretty good right out the gate. I spent a long time in flowers. I recently heard a story from Eagle the Lucky in meditation where he told me I was given the name Little Flower because I was born in a field of flowers. Back before there were hospitals, you could kind of, especially if you were the tribal healer and you were having a baby, you could pick where you wanted to have your baby. And I did. And, well, my mother did. And I think I had the same idea and had babies in the same field. But my mother wanted to have me in a field of flowers, and then she named me Little Flower. So she was the one, I believe, her and I designed the Mayan calendars. I know that's not what you think of when you think of um, the Mayan calendar, but is it any wonder that it wasn't women who designed the Mayan calendar? Because after that, women fell out of favor, men stopped listening to women, and they made their own calendar, which sucks. Quite honestly, I just have to say, the Mayan calendar shows that it has lasted. It's a good calendar, and I don't think it predicts doom and gloom. That's not what we were predicting. We were predicting an end of a cycle. And it's actually the end of a dark age, which it's a good thing. The end of a dark age is a good thing. And we are now moving into a golden age. And that's when everything opens up and truth becomes a huge thing. Notice everyone knows when people are lying now. 10, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. You couldn't tell. But we're in a lighter moment in our celestial zooming around space. And I think it's a golden age. It's my opinion. But in golden ages, we as humans flourish. We have everything at our fingertips right now. We just have to do it right. And this whole greed bit has got to drop away, because the truth is greed is not where it's at. That's one person doesn't just get everything. That how could that possibly work for everyone? That's not how things work. It will never work that way. It will never work that way. It will never work that way. You just have to lose the greed. You have to lose the ego. Lose all that. You don't need it. You don't need it. You need truth. You need light. You need love. You need fire to a certain extent. You need earth. You need air. You need water. Water. Earth, air, water, and what am I forgetting? Earth, air, water, and at a loss. I don't know why. It'll come to me. You've already got it at home, I'm sure. Fire. Oh, talk about this. Can't see the forest for the trees. Earth, air, water, and fire. Fireside Tales. I'm forgetting an element. Can't figure out which one. Oh. Fire. Voila. Nonetheless, next week we'll discuss more of Little Flower and her childhood and her siblings, and I'll tell the story of the Grateful Dead again, and we'll talk more about my book in the Akashic Records, and I'm working on a song about reincarnation. I really wanted to have it written for season 2, but it just didn't come. So I have 3 different albums coming out in the next 3 months. September 1st, I'm putting out an album called Enchanting. It's all my chants. I don't know if any of you know any of my musical work, but I have a couple of chants that are kind of popular, Standing for Our Mother, and my fight chant and my Hey Now chant. They've all been used at protests. I sort of write protest songs and chants. And so Enchanting comes out, and all my good chants are on there. Enchanting comes out September 1st, this year, 2022. Then I have Potty Mouth, which is all my songs with swears in them. I have 13, so there's a bonus song. And that comes out October 1st. Then I have another album, and all of these albums are full of all original songs. All of my songs I write myself. I produce, I play the instruments, I sing. It's all me. And I do the recordings and the lights and the sound and everything. It's all me. So Soundview is my 3rd album that's coming out in the next 3 months, and that comes out on November 1st. And that song's about where I grew up. And I'm also thinking of having a Halloween ball here in Mount Shasta at Mililli Studios. If anyone is interested in that or in helping with that, contact me. Either through this YouTube video or on my website. My website is www.merlinmililli.com. That's Merlin like the wizard, no space, Mililli, MILLILLI.com. So if you're interested in the Halloween ball, I might put something up on the website regarding it. But if you're interested, contact me. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So find me. I'm all over the place. Plus there's the Merlin Mililli channel. You can contact me through YouTube, through there's various ways. And I have a phone number. But I'll neglect to leave that now. If you need my phone number, contact me. I'll give it to you. So, okay. Every week, I also have been playing David Crosby's Deja Vu. Like I said, I hoped to have a new reincarnation song, but I don't. So, I'm going to play David Crosby's Deja Vu for you one more time. And it is a song about reincarnation. Though I'm not sure deja vu itself, the phenomena, is a is a reincarnation thing. And I'm not sure we've all been here before because, like I discussed earlier, the spirits have that murder theory on the reincarnated folks. So it might not be everyone, but it's definitely a decent portion. So here we go. If I had ever been here before, I would probably know just what to do. Don't you? If I had ever been here before, another time around the wheel, I would probably know just how to deal with all of you. And I feel like I've been here before. Feel like I've been here before. And you know, it makes me wonder what's going on under the ground. Do you know? Don't you wonder? What's going on down under you? La da da, la da da, la da da da, la da 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 da. We have all been here before. We have all been here before. about it for me today. Thanks for joining us for season 2. Start to a new season, start to a new year, coming into 2023. See how that goes. <sighs> 2022 wasn't so great for me. My father died in April, so I had a much needed break from Fireside Tales while I grieved, and I'm better now, but I think I'm still grieving. Grief is a funny thing. It's a fickle thing. It doesn't really jive with what you want it to be. It has its own entity, its own space that it takes up, and it makes itself quite known. Watch out for that grief. You can't ignore it. It's one of those things like your inner beast. You have to deal with that. It will sneak back up on you and bite you. It has teeth. Grief and the past. So join us next week where we'll continue to talk a little bit more about Little Flower, and we'll cover the story of the Grateful Dead, and we'll sing some more and play some more music and have some more fire and do some more smudging, and join us. We'll see you next week. You guys have a great, weird, and wonderful weekend. A Mililli Studios production.